Welcome to the Divorce Diaries podcast, one man's anonymous and live account of if he should get a divorce or stay married. He's been cheated on and he's cheated, protecting the innocent with changed voice patterns, the omission of names, ages and genders. His authentic journey and account of the daily events of his marriage are helping him sort out his feelings and not get lost in the ups or the downs. New episodes are released daily. Welcome to the Divorce Diaries podcast. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
This may sound like a chauvinistic diary entry, but it's not. Trust me. It's an observation. It's an observation of women from the experiences that I'm having. I would say that men don't change in the sense that men always are in a gear of not all men, most. And when I say most, I mean specifically good men, men that I feel mean well. They are kind of always in a position to help, fix, solve. So if you're a man and you're good with your hands, you're likely going to want to fix things. If you're strong, you're going to want to pick things up. If you're tall, you're going to want to reach the high things she can't reach. That's how you're going to kind of move in relationship all the time. So a woman, I don't see how I personally as a man would be frustrated at living with, being married to in a long-term relationship with a fixer, someone that wants to improve things. And not just they want to be busy seeming like they're fixing things, but they are actually wanting to fix things. They might even be failing at fixing them, like if he's just really not that handy, but he's pretty prideful and he wants to keep trying to fix the garbage disposal, but keeps kind of failing. That's a different thing. But men are one way, and you're always going to get something productive out of a good man. And what I'm finding is women are the same way. And I don't think it matters what the thing is. I would like to know in any comments, I don't know where this will be posted, if this ever will be posted again, emails, replies, comments, anything. Just let me know what you think. But I feel that women don't change. And I feel that once you understand how to make the woman, who I'll use the analogy, the instrument, play the right note, if you continue to play that note consistently the same way, in whatever happiness she is in, she will stay there, or whatever sadness she's in, she'll stay there. That's how things will work with the woman. And I'm noticing that because when I'm merging onto the highway, 9 times out of 10, especially when there's not another merge lane where someone's going to, it's one of those merge lanes that are merging onto a interstate, but also getting off of that same interstate to get off that exit, like when two interstates kind of merge and there's an exchange. I'm talking when there is no exit for the interstate at all, but there's an on-ramp leading onto the interstate. And you know that there's always that person that sees that you guys kind of get on at the same time, or you're in the merge lane at the same time that they're in the lane that you're trying to merge into, and they don't speed up, they don't slow down, which it's not their job to speed up or slow down. It's not their job. But it's an unwritten rule that you don't ride in the merge lane. It's probably a good practice to get into because you want to get in your car and you want to apply your brakes as infrequently as possible, stomp on your gas and get it back up, take it from low speeds to high speeds as infrequently as possible because you want your engine to just be more efficient so that the fuel burns at a more of an efficient rate. You don't burn your brakes because you're riding and you're hitting the brakes, speeding up, hitting the brakes, speeding up, hitting the brakes, speeding up. But I've noticed in my ex and most other women that I've been around, when they pick their lane, they stay in that lane. And I noticed that like today, I almost got into an accident because there's this one horrible road where I live, and merging onto it, there's no merge lane, but they don't do a full no merge because it will be such a blind corner. And if they did a no merge, you don't know if you're going to come around that bend to a stopped car or what. So it's terrible. And there's the merge lane is probably about 50 feet. It's not long at all. I wouldn't even call it a lane. It's like a divot before shoulder starts. It's very, and it's not really much of a shoulder there. It's a bridge. So it's, you could just scrape up the side of your car, or you're hitting the cars in the lane. It's really bad. And I get on the interstate with this minimal space, or I get in that lane to merge onto the interstate with very minimal space. And the person in the car in the lane is probably 3 car lengths behind, but I don't have enough time or space to, me being at 40 miles an hour, I will have to slam on my brakes to come to a stop to let this person go on my left, or I would have to speed up, and I don't really have that much space to cut them off, and I just kind of can't do it. So I have to try to make a game time decision, and I try to slow down, and there's a car right behind me, so if I slam on the brakes, they're going to smack me in the back. So I kind of have to like slow down as hard as I can, and I kind of feather over to my left into the other lane a little bit, and just someone leans on the horn, blows by me, and I'm like, and I honk back at them because it was such an absurd thing. That person chose to ride in the merge lane where cars are merging onto. They have the tags of the state that I live in. So sometimes I kind of go in the assumption that, hey, you've been on this road before. You know how this goes. You know that this is a very short lane before that people have to merge, or they're stopped and they're at a dead stop, and it's horrible. It's very dangerous for everyone. And this person probably just says, I'm in this lane because I'm getting off at an exit 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 miles down, but I'm just going to ride in the right lane because my exit is on the right. But you'll be here for 10 minutes, slowing down and speeding up for every car that merges onto and off of. And I remember having conversations with my ex and other women as well. I will say, if you just kind of ride in the middle lane, you probably won't have to deal with all this speeding up and slowing down. Or I would say to my ex, I'm like, hey, so you see that U-Haul truck that's in the middle lane? I just want you to watch how that truck just continues to go further and further ahead of us, because that truck is in the middle lane. And don't worry about the cars in the left lane. They're just blasting down the road. But the cars in the middle and left lanes, really any lane but the rightmost lane, they're going. Do you see that they don't have to change lanes? And she's just kind of like, and so have other women. They've said to me, well, I just want to stay here because I know I'm getting off. And I'm like, but you're getting off in 10 miles. This is exit 14. We have to go all the way to exit 20. You're just going to continue to slow down over and over. It's not so great. And I have always found it extremely interesting that car that honked at me today, I kind of sped up because I could get around to the left lanes that move faster, like I said, and I just passed them. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I passed and I looked over, and it was a woman, a very obese one at that. And it matters, I think, because I think that when we're one way with one thing, we might be most likely that way in all things. So if you are a person that could potentially let yourself become morbidly obese, you're a woman and you weigh more than a man, or you're a man and there's a 3 in your weight, 300 something, or you're a woman and there's a 2 in your weight, you likely aren't doing well, and you could probably easily find other ways in your life that you're just lacking discipline, money, sleep, finishing that degree, starting that business, excelling at your job or something like that, doing your best, putting your best foot forward. Usually if you're that large, usually there are lots of different ways that you're not putting your best foot forward. And this woman felt as if she was entitled to that lane. But let's be real. I don't know what the hell she felt. Who knows what she felt? But she was entitled to the lane, maybe. But I just think that in my experience, women a lot of the time get in one gear, just like men, but their one gear is, oh, this is what I'm doing, so this is what I'll continue to do. I go to this restaurant, so this is the restaurant I want to go to. I eat this food. Oh, this is the food I want to continue to eat. I shop at this store. This is the store I want to continue to shop in. I'm driving in this lane. I want to continue to drive in this lane. I feel that I need to be free and not encumbered by a relationship, so I won't put the brakes on my own, I won't say selfishness, but I'll say self-absorbed nature to do what I want for me. And usually usually you hear men kind of say, because they're problem solvers, they say, oh, when I had kids, man, that really settled me down. When I met her, that really calmed me down. Ooh, she balanced me. Ooh, she brought me back down to earth. Statements like that, men typically make those statements when a big life change happens. Hey, that happened in my life, so that changed me. Usually, there are some, but usually you don't hear stories from women. Hey, when that happened, when I had kids, that changed everything for me. All I wanted to do was provide. No, because women usually don't provide. So, oh, when I had kids, I lost myself. That's usually what women will say. It's like, whoa, I was in the right lane and I had that child and now I'm in the left lane. Wow, I don't get in the left lane. I don't want to get in the left lane. I want to ride in the right lane because my exit's coming up. You feel like you're missing out on other exits. You don't feel comfortable being where you are because you want to be where you were. Because you just kind of want to keep going the way that you've been going. Having conversations with my ex-sister-in-law, soon to be at the time of this recording. I'm not divorced yet. But she and her mom and my ex, to an extent, to not as much as they have, but there's always been a struggle with weight. It's just one of those family things, I guess. And not really a family thing of struggling with weight, a family thing of struggling with, I will say, discipline. And am I fit? Yes, I'm fit. Have I been fit for most of my life? Yes. There was a time in my marriage where I wasn't fit, and that's because I was trying to be kind of the best husband that I could be, but in a way that I moved just like my wife moved. I came home from work, and I stayed up late watching The Real Housewives of Pick a City. We loved chocolate chip cookie dough, and one of our favorites was Rocky Road. So we'd sit there and we'd munch on that, or, oh, well, let's try a movie tonight and have some popcorn, stay up late, and fall asleep on the couch. Sleep habits were poor. Eating habits were poor. So my weight went up. And we were, in some ways, we were happy as pigs in slop. Pun intended. But as time went on, I'm like, whoa. And I kind of look at myself and I see myself in this one picture we used to have on our refrigerator, and she and I are posing together and everything. And I'm looking at, I wouldn't call it two fat people, but I would say that we were two standard looking Americans. I definitely had a dad bod. Definitely had a dad bod. And she definitely did not have the curves that she wanted. And I snapped myself out of and plan to until I'm in a pine box. Actually, I want to get cremated. That's really my goal. So hopefully I'll never be in a pine box unless I want to. But we tend to change. And a lot of times, in my opinion anyway, women tend to sort of stay the same. I'm a free spirit. I want to stay that way. I'm a churchgoer. I will stay that way. I used to go to church a lot. I was much more religious. I would actually call it religious than I am now. I would say now that I'm more spiritual. I never really did yoga before. I do it often now. Meditation, I thought, could never be a thing for me. When life wasn't going the way that I thought it ought to, meditation was something that I tried and now I've stuck with. I don't eat as much as I used to eat and lift as heavy as I used to lift, so I can try to become a little bit leaner. I wasn't a runner, but I sort of forced myself to. There are a lot of things. I know that I made a lot of mistakes with my firstborn, and I tried not to make those with my second, but some still did linger. And I'm trying my best not to do any of those things that I found to be wrong or incorrect or absurd with my third. I made sure I took extreme steps to make sure I didn't have any more children. Then after meeting a few people, I learned that, wait, I still want to have children. I just didn't want to have children with her. I'm excited to embrace the fact that, wow, one day I may be a father again. You know what I mean? Start a family again. I may be able to get that family that I hoped to have with my soon-to-be ex. I'm hoping that I can pivot and adjust and, like I said earlier, fix what's broken. Make it better. Don't repeat the same mistakes. That's what I'm hoping to do. But I noticed, just like that lady that cut me off, sometimes women that I notice a lot of the time, even though I'm in a really tight parking lot right now, and most people are backed in, but I still watch a lot of women. They tend to pull nose in because it's the easiest right then. The short-sightedness of it is just very interesting. I'm just going to pull in. I'm just going to pull in. But then I watch the agony as people try to break their neck to see, as they're backing out of that space that they pulled nose into, they're backing out and they're kind of looking side to side, and it's uncomfortable. It's awkward. And they don't know if they're going to get plowed into, and they're like, I can't see. And they're just inching out slowly. Whereas if they kind of looked behind them when they were pulling into the parking lot, prepared for the future, swung the front end out to the left, then cut that wheel to the right and backed it into a spot, everyone would have just stood in the back behind them, waiting for them to complete their back into the space. Then they would drive by and look for their next parking spot. And then when the woman comes out, she hops in her driver's seat, and now she's already pointing the way she wants to go. She's got a much better vantage point. She can look left and right outside of her windshield, through her driver's side window and passenger side windows. She has a really good vantage point, and she's prepared herself to not be in a tough situation. The woman today that drove past me that way, if she would have just ridden in the middle lane, she wouldn't have had to be put in that position, because I'll be honest, had we had an accident today, it would have been difficult to figure out and infer whose fault it was. Was it my fault because I wasn't, was it my fault because I didn't stop in that yield lane? Was it her fault because she didn't yield a little bit because it was an unsafe situation? So I don't really know for sure. All I know is we would have collided because the lane would have been ending. So she would have been driving straight in her lane. I mean, it seems like all signs would point to it being my fault because my lane ends and it's on me to stop. But I could see how there may be some gray there. And if I was a horrible liar, I would say something crazy like she wasn't there. Well, one, I'm not a liar. I know she was there. She 100% was there. I'm just saying it was difficult to negotiate with the limited lane that I had before it ended and went into the bridge. I was literally in a situation where I had to make a tough call, and I had to slide on the gravel, which I did, or I had to speed up and try to squeeze in front of her because she had no plans of slowing down. She was doing what she was doing. So what I've learned in my time living so far, and I wish I would have learned it earlier, I can say that I probably still would be married if I understood that my soon-to-be ex was one way and I just continued to keep that in the front of my mind. Done. I would not have tried to push her to evolve. I would have always known that my soon-to-be ex was maybe a fair weather gym person. And then when she gets, I don't know, frustrated at how she looked in the mirror maybe, and says, I'm going to go balls to the wall and I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to get my summer body and all of that other stuff, I would just say, that's okay. She's got more of a cyclical cycle of, or certain things might happen and she may decide, oh yes, I'm going to really be disciplined. Then she comes out of that and she will get maybe less disciplined, then more disciplined, then less. I wouldn't have spent so much of our time wasting it talking to her, reminding her, kind of in my own way, scolding her. You said that you would do this, and I'm doing it all in the name of accountability. I didn't accept her for who she was. And that was a huge mistake. She was going to do and be and live one way. And she was not going to change. She had no plans of changing. She always wanted to be very informed about anything that she took on. But she would only take on and learn about things that she was really passionate about understanding. So, if I would have just understood she wasn't passionate about a great many things, I would have just continued to support her when she did show some passion for something. Even if it was fleeting and it wasn't long lasting, I would have just understood, hey, this is how it is. Her exercise and workout regimen is cyclical. I would have been thankful that my wife was not 300 pounds. She wasn't 200 pounds. Well, at the end there, I'm not really sure what it was, but my wife was not a morbidly obese woman. And looking back now, that's something to be grateful for. A lot of men have really morbidly obese wives. A lot of men themselves are morbidly obese. I should have been thankful and shown her a little bit more gratitude when she was in her I'm gonna do it phase. And I could have been more gently supportive when she was maybe in her less disciplined phase. That's what I could have been. But you live and you learn. And I'll just take these lessons into every future relationship I have. A woman is going to do what she does. And if you're a betting man, which I am, you can bet your ass she's not going to change. So, take off your man hat, is what I tell myself and any other man. Take off your man hat, don't try to fix. She's a person, and more importantly, she's a woman. Don't try to fix her because she's not broken. This is just how she is. And maybe if me and that woman would have slammed into each other on the side of the road, then maybe, just maybe, she would have said, whoa. And she learned her lesson and she's like, oh, we hit because I didn't realize how tough it was, and everybody's going to have to be perfect at this merge. Perfect. You know what? I don't want to put myself in a position where everybody's got to be absolutely perfect. I want to put myself in a position where there's some wiggle room. I want to be in a lane where he's going to hit me if he just flies onto this interstate and just comes over 2 lanes and smacks me. Then it's 100% his fault, and I would not be expecting that because I don't expect people to drive erratically. So, she was always who she was going to be. And that's that. Lesson learned. Don't worry, my future ex-girlfriend, whoever you are. I'll try my best to be ready to let you be you.
Wow, that was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon. At Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.